Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now while I've still got this in for review, I thought it'd be rude not to do a side-by-side comparison with the 556 from Sinn, as they're both German pilot watches, they both cost a very similar price and they're both very similar sizes. Now what I mean by a similar price is the Archimedes here comes in at 1,240 euros, but this is one of the more premium ones in black. So you can get it for as low as 1,040 euros in silver, and I believe on a bracelet you can even get it in hand wound, which is quite cool actually, and sounds quite interesting. The Sinn 556 in Germany comes in at 1,150 euros on a leather strap. Now, when it comes to sizes, you are talking, there's less than half a mil in it pretty well on both watches. The Archimedes here, the Flieger 200, this model, comes in at 38.7 or 38.8. The Sinn here comes in at 38.5. The thickness of the Archimedes comes in at 10.8, whereas the Sinn is 11.2. And the lug to lug, so the longest point across the body of the watch, on this model here is 45, and on the Sinn it's 0.2 millimeters longer at 45.7. The strap size on both watch is coming in at 20 millimeters. So as you can see, very similar price, very similar sizes. They're both classic looking pilot's watches. Legibility is key on both of these. And I do quite like it. They have a very similar hour and minute track going on. Obviously, the Sinn has the 1236 here, but is also available in a baton form called, this is a 556A. There's also a 556I, which is a little bit more dressier. So the one thing where the Archimedes here has it trumped is when it comes to actual options. The options lists available on this are pretty substantial. Here we feature a sapphire crystal flat. You can also order a domed sapphire crystal. On the back, you can have a display case back. You can have a solid case back. You can have an inscription written across the case back if you wish, like this. Or you can even have it written across on a silver rotor on the inside, if one desires. It is available in two different bracelet options, but one of the bracelet options also features hardening. But unfortunately, the black model doesn't have any of this. Whereas the Sinn 556, as I say, you can get it in the more dressier I version. You can get it with a mother of pearl dial, and every so often there's different limited editions in different colours. You can also get a red second hand on both models. This is called an RS model. And to be fair, I should also mention you can get two different bracelet options, the H-Link and the Fine Link. So you've got obviously levels of customization, but once you go down that route, obviously the price of the watch does go up somewhat. Now, when it comes to the dial, both of these dials very clear and legible. We do have a date window on Sinn 556 down here at on the 556A, I should say, at the 4:30 position. Not everyone likes it. I don't mind it because you don't really notice it's there until you need it. I think it's much better than having a big blocky one up here at a 3 o'clock position, but that's just all comes down to personal taste. Minimal text, Sinn, made in Germany. It's all kept very, very simple, and I quite like that. On the Archimedes here, you have a nice simple black dial with the name and then Flieger automatic in Deutsch and made in Germany. Now, I think that's quite enough text on that. It's no problem at all. The date window I know will please more people, being it's down at a 6 o'clock position and it's a bit more uniformed and more kind of keep the status quo and everyone happy by keeping it at a conventional place, so more people will like that. Both of these watches feature lume. I would say when it comes to the which has a better lume, it's tough to say. I think the lume's pretty well the same. If anything, I would say it's slightly better on the Flieger 200. For the simple fact is, the hands are slightly bigger. You've got a double marker up here at 12, so you've got a little bit more lume to actually emit from. So that I would say personally. Both of these watches also feature 200 meters of water resistance, which is very impressive. The Sinn does also feature a low pressure rating. As we come to the case of the watch, the Sinn has this nice satinized finish here. This is my own watch, and to be fair, it's picked up a couple of marks, but they're incredibly easy to remove on this. One advantage it does have is you have drilled out lugs. Now, some people say, what does that mean? But if I've got like a tool here and I want to change the strap, all I have to do is place it in this hole and I can press the spring bar in and remove the strap. It is nice and simple, and I find it quite pleasing on a watch like this, being a tool watch. On here we have big crown guards protecting the signed crown, which is screwed down as well. Now, when it comes to the Flieger 200, it has its bit of a trump card here, as all of their range, even their starting ones at €1,040, are case hardened. In the black version here, we're talking 1,200 Vickers, which is truly impressive. That should mean it's a lot harder to scratch. So also, I believe the cases are made in-house, actually at their place in Pforzheim, which is another nice touch. We don't have drilled out lugs, and we don't have any crown guards. I would like to see crown guards on this, to be fair, as I do like them. But one thing I would say as well, it doesn't have a screw down crown. It goes straight into hand wind. On a watch like this, I don't know, I suppose technically does it matter? I suppose where if you were to have the hand wound version, then I would completely agree. Having no lugs would make more sense. But on these, I would personally like to see it. And one thing I would say, and it sounds... this is just more a feeling than anything. The crown on this feels incredibly sturdy and solid, a real chunky little bit of metal. On this, it's going to sound weird, it feels plasticky. It doesn't feel like a solid piece of metal, if that makes sense. I know it's signed and it will be metal and all that, but it just doesn't give you that tactile feeling of the one you get on the Sinn. But the case, obviously, in its hardened form is superior. So that's, for one thing you get, one thing they remove, I suppose. As we say, on the back, we are greeted with this, what looks, I think, like a really cool case back with the black on there. I love the fact that you've got a black rotor. It really does look nice. The movement in this is the Sleater SW200. This is in one of its more standard forms, so... But still, on the time graph, I think it was pulling +4. You can see it's got a simple bead blasted finish on there. So I don't think it's got the blued screws. These are always blued, to be fair, for the auto rotor, so you know which one it is. So, but overall, it's still a very nice movement. New features, 40 hours of power reserve, give or take. Winds in both directions, bi-directional wind, hand winding. But one thing I would say, if you do let it run down on power, only give it like 5 or 6 winds and let your wrist do the rest, as that way you stop excessive wear between this gear and this gear. It's just beneficial not to do that, so be aware of that anyway. It's not a great hardship, but yeah, as I say, you can also get the different rotors on here. The 556 Sinn, this is one of the older ones with the old-fashioned brass kind of coloured weight on the back. The new ones are rhodium plated and they look very, very smart. Sinn use top grade movements, so even though this is an SW200, there are 4 different levels. That's the Flieger 200 has level 2, this has level 3. So it's basically a chronometer spec without the chronometer paperwork, if that makes sense. It's borderline on that, and most you will find within chronometer specs anyway. I think this one, last time I put it on the time graph, it was about +2, +3 seconds. So real testament. As you can see, the difference with the more top grade, you get all the nice machining finishing on here. So we have like snail nail pelaging, Geneva stripes and so forth, and the blued screws, and you get a slightly, what I consider, a better system for the shock setting here. Very hard to see on camera, but this one is better. You got the Kif and the Inca style, and this one I do prefer. This is also sapphire crystal, believe it or not, with AR coating on the inside as well, because what the heck, you can. So realistically, they are very, very similar, and it comes down to personal taste. One thing I would say is when it comes to the feel of the watch, the Sinn feels a little bit heavier. which gives it an impression of, kind of, it just feels heavy and you get more feel of quality. I know that's completely a wrong way, but this one does feel lighter. So it does feel a little bit more lighter. So it all comes down to personal taste. I'll put them both on my wrist so you got an idea how they look. I'm wearing today my Fortis, which I got not so long ago. It's a limited edition. And Bob has the Satina DS1 on there, which is a rather cool watch. My wrist size is 7¼ inches. Works out round about to 18.5 centimeters. I'll just place this on quickly. I've got an idea how it looks. And here you go there. I think it's a very cool looking watch. No whistle, but I really do like this brand. I hope to get more watches in from them. I really would like to. We'll have to speak very nicely to them and see how they go with that. Now the Sinn 556, firm favourite. I'll just put it on this. I just placed it on this clasp because it kind of I know Sinn sell one which is very similar to this one. Let's put this on. And that's it on my wrist there. So this one comes down to personal choice, really, which brand you desire more. I say both from Germany, both come with 2-year warranties. Obviously, the Sinn, even though technically the Sinn is a newer brand, so I think Sinn were formed, was it 1961? Sinn formed a company, but Archimedes, they've been making watches for over 100 years. So, they are, been around for some time. It's just Sinn has got more of the light, let's say. So anyway, let me know in the comments below which one you prefer, but most importantly, you stay safe up there, and I'll see you in the next review. Take care. Bye.